Hey, hey, Happy New Year. Let me start today with asking you a question. How many of you feel either behind or overwhelmed in your business already this year? I'd be lying if I said I haven't had moments of that overwhelm. You see everyone posting about, their 2019 and what they've done and what they've accomplished and their New Year's goals. And, if I had $1 for every time we're going to hear, 2020 vision this year, my husband said he wished it was 2021 just so he doesn't have to hear it anymore. And I basically told him to buckle up because it's another, 11 months of this. But we've all struggled with overwhelm, right? You already feel behind and overwhelmed because you've seen everyone posting, what's your word for 2020? What's your goals or your intentions or your whatever you want to call it, right? And when you start thinking about it, you get overwhelmed. So whether you're watching this live or on replay, drop a me if you have ever struggled with overwhelm. And if you don't drop it, you're lying because we all have. I'm Emily Smiley. Welcome to today's Hot Topic or Tune-Up Tuesday, which I liked it today. Just because of the clarity piece in dealing with overwhelm. So if you dropped a me into the comments, when you are overwhelmed or you're dealing with this overwhelm, what is the number one thing that happens? And now think about that for a minute, because I think we would all pretty much answer the same, and it's you freeze or you get stuck or you actually don't get anything done because you're just so overwhelmed maybe with everything that needs to get done, right? So some examples of overwhelm, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a mompreneur, a lot of times I feel like I have all of these areas that I'm juggling. And when I think about all that I need to do, or I already feel behind, then I immediately get this wave of overwhelm. And what do? I usually procrastinate and I will do nothing. And that is really what I want to share some tips on today. So if you have ever felt overwhelmed in your life, overwhelmed in your business or any other area, it's pretty straightforward and simple today, but they are such good reminders. The number one thing that I think of when I think of overwhelm is clarity or lack of clarity, right? Because I am just not clear on what it is I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it all, and that's what causes that overwhelm. So, like I said, I am not claiming to be some sort of expert on this, but I can definitely tell you that I have struggled with this with my business, and these were some tips that were shared by my mentor that has helped, and I really think that these can help you as well. So let's talk about reasons why you might get overwhelmed. Number one is maybe you're learning a new skill, right? And it just feels hard. I mean, even if it's not hard, down the road, when you first start, it just feels so hard. Think about anything that you've tried, that's new. And sadly, this is a hot topic for me in itself. But how many of us as adults actually put ourselves in situations where we are learning something new or doing something new? So this is a big thing for me because I don't feel that as adults we really stretch ourselves and get outside of our norm or our box or our comfort zone. And I realize that's a buzzword, but even so, think about how many times you've done that. So one thing that I do every year is I really try to go find something new in the gym, right? I've made, being committed to exercising and being healthy, that's been a lifestyle thing for me. And so it can get boring, right? And so what's one thing that will change that up is learning something new. And I can tell you I've tried it all. I pretty much liked everything. The only thing I can say I didn't enjoy probably was aerial yoga. No offense to any of you that may like that, but I did it, right? And I absolutely learned something new. I learned that if you put me in a swinging yoga type sack, I will go to sleep if you turn the lights out. It's not that it's hard. I watch these people whip around in here and I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're like, no, you just have to come every week. You have to be consistent and then it gets easier. So it's not that it's necessarily hard. It's just new. It's just new for you. And then the other is there's too many options. So many of us, and I have been guilty of this, how many of you have, struggled from shiny ball syndrome, right? We've all seen like this course, that course, this person, that person, whatever it is. There's so many options. When people are trying to eat healthy, they struggle with knowing, who to listen to and what to listen to and what to buy, because there's so much information. We are literally bombarded with information out there. And so, you have to find what's right for you, and you have to stick to one thing. And it's like, that's what I try to tell people. It's like, there's a lot of diets and exercise programs that will work, but the main thing that doesn't work is if you quit, right? And it's the same in your business. My background was teaching, and when I first started, it was overwhelming, the idea I had to teach all of these. And I was overwhelmed with that, right? And then you get into it and you're like, okay, well, this makes sense. And I can do this. The same was when I started in network marketing. I was like, whoa, this is totally different than, running my personal training business on the side. But it was new skills that I had to learn. And I would have to say the most overwhelmed I've ever felt was when I decided to add another stream of income and get online and start affiliate. I was completely overwhelmed. And why was I overwhelmed? Because there were too many new skills, lots of new skills, and so many options, everyone claiming to have like this or this. So I bought several courses thinking like this was gonna work, and it was too many options, right? It wasn't until I found where I am now, where they had the roadmap and you had one mentor and they take you all the way through, that I didn't feel so overwhelmed, right? So when I got started, it was new and there was a lot of options, which bring me to the third was we want immediate results. And the fact is if it is a new skill for you, and if there is a lot of information, that takes time. And it's so hard explaining to people, we live in this microwave society. We want now, we want results right now. We want 20 pounds in 2 minutes, right? And it's the same in the business. We expect to build our business with unreasonable results. We think that we're gonna build 6 or 7 figures in, a year. Oh, 2020 is gonna be my year. I'm gonna make it to 6 figures, and that's partly because there's people out there claiming, or saying, oh, I've done that. But, maybe they're the 0.01%, right? 90-something% of the rest of us, right? It takes time, it takes skills, it takes discipline, it takes that step-by-step, not that immediate result. Because if you expect that immediately, for me, takes me into overwhelm. I feel the pressure to have those results right now, instead of trusting the process that it will happen, it's just down the road, right? So whether it's a financial, or whether it's proving to someone, your mentor or your upline or whoever it is, when you feel that pressure, it can lead you to that feeling of overwhelm. But there's also life, and life as an entrepreneur, especially when you work from home, that's a big deal. I would say it's probably the number one thing that when I connect and talk with people, especially moms, they want to be home, and for a lot of them, that's why they start an at-home business, but then they struggle with the discipline of how to do both. Do I just let my, house go to crap and my kids feed themselves to focus on this business, or do I take care of that? And then, it's this juggle act, and they feel so overwhelmed because they don't feel like they have the skills necessarily to do that. So, for an example, after Christmas, my kids get all their toys and their clothes or whatever, and we've kind of made a habit of, before they go back to school, at some point, going in each of their rooms and going through and finding like a home, right? I'm kind of an organized person, and getting rid of some of their toys, going through their clothes, and finding a home for it. So I've done this for years with my daughter, and she's a pro at it, right? She's in middle school now, and she basically spent all day in her room. We didn't see her the entire day, and then at the end of the day, her room looked magnificent. I mean, I literally was jealous. I was like, can you come to my room? And it looked so good. Well, my son had decided that he would start without me, even though I told him to wait, and he had pulled every single thing out of his drawers. He had all of his toys there, and he literally was sitting in the middle of the floor, and he was crying. And not to be like, I mean, it's sadly funny, but it's like, I was like, you can do this. Just pick that up. And he's like, I can't. He was so emotionally drained, physically frustrated. He just was sitting in his mess. I've never seen such an overwhelmed child in my life. And I laugh now, but it was sadly funny. He really wanted to do it himself. And I say that because I thought so much of how that, is like our business. We pull out all of these books and we order all this stuff and we make all of these lists of everything that we're going to do in our business, and we're going to tackle all of these things, and it's too much. It's too much. It's too new. It's too much information. We want immediate results instead of understanding that it takes a mess to clean it up. And I've told my kids that for years. You have to understand that when you do a deep clean like that, you pull all of that out, it takes time. And you have to go through the mess to get to the clean point, right? And you can juggle it. Did I do it for him? Absolutely not. Did I leave him in it? Absolutely not. So if you don't have a mentor to help you, that's exactly how he would have felt. He never would have been able to do that himself. Was it really difficult? No, but it was difficult to him, and it was new for him to have to sort through all of this mess. So I sat in there, and I didn't just tell him what to do. I got alongside of him, and we helped him figure out, okay, where is this going to go? What are we going to get rid of? And step by step, we tackled one thing at a time, and we mastered it. So, too many lists. How many of you guys are guilty of too many lists? I literally, at one point, had a list of my list. Like, okay, so you've got a house list, and you've got a shopping list, and you've got what you're going to do in your business, and maybe you have more than one business, or you have, your JOB, so you've got, that list, and then you've got your kids list of everything that they're going to do and all of that. So the first step and my first tip is to recognize that you feel overwhelmed, because what happens? We talked about this, right? You're going to procrastinate. You're going to stall. You're not going to do anything. You're going to sit like he did in the middle of his mess and just cry. I have been there. Oh my gosh, have I been there? You have to be self-aware and understanding that he made this mess, and then he recognized that it was too much for him to do, too new for him to have sorted through all of this stuff, and he asked for help. So I would say, recognize when you are overwhelmed and ask for help, just like he recognized that he had to do. Stop sitting in your mess crying that you feel so overwhelmed, and just ask for help. Tip number two, change your thoughts and your thinking, especially when it's something new. So when I went in there to him and I was like, buddy, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I decided to do all of my room on my own, right? This was before he got to his breakdown. He didn't understand. And I said, well, what are you doing? He was like, I can't do it. I can't do it, right? I can't run my business. I'm not techie, right? I don't know how to talk to people. I don't have an influence. I don't have a following, right? We tell ourselves these false stories. He had told himself that he couldn't do it, that it was too much. Was it really? Well, it was a lot. But it was folding. It was putting away his shoes. It was putting away his toys. He had done all of these things before, but when you piled them all up together, it was too much for him to handle. So, thinking that you're going to be able to do this and this and this and this and this, you have to change your thoughts and your thinkings. You have to tell yourself, and this is really where affirmations, I truly believe, come into play. Because as I started coming alongside of him and helping him, understand and break it down. Buddy, this is really simple. Say, I can do this. I am organized. You have to speak that over yourself, right? It's kind of a badge of honor now, and it annoys me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. That hot mess. Why would you claim that over yourself? There is a difference between understanding that we are all, not perfect, being authentic, not having to have this facade of whatever you think that you want to portray, especially online or social media, and literally declaring yourself a hot mess. You've got to change your thought and your thinking. Instead of telling yourself that you're overwhelmed, you just need to recognize that and then change your thought behind it, right? Stop yourself from saying, oh, I'm not tacky, and focus on one thing, right? That's where those affirmations come in. You have to make a new belief system. If your belief system is broken, your business will not work. And that is the God honest truth. Okay, tip number 3, change the multitasking mentality. I used to actually brag that I could multitask, but then I would also complain that nothing would get done correctly, right? It's all just mediocre, maybe done. Now, I'm not talking about running and starting a load of laundry and doing the dishes while you're listening to a podcast or something else, right? Or a Facebook Live, right? So I'm talking about actually tackling one thing. So I used to write out my list, right? Big list person. And I would say something like, okay, so I'm going to follow up with this. And I'm going to type this out, and I'm going to write my blog, and I'm going to do, a live. I'm going to do video. I'm going to do this. And I had all of these things that I had to do. Okay, so I felt overwhelmed. It was too many things, and I never got one done. when I started time blocking, and if you do not time block, it is a game changer. And forget even the blocks. Sometimes I've just done a day. Like, okay, today I'm just gonna focus on my house. And when I do that, and I get that done, and I can check and clear that out of my brain, right? Some of you feel me, right? All of the open tabs in there. Then the next day, I'm actually able to focus on maybe my business. So I'm not gonna feel bad that I didn't touch it, or get that blog done or whatever yesterday, because I got my house done yesterday, and today I'm really gonna focus on that blog, all right? Well, today I'm gonna focus on videos, or I'm gonna really write some ad copy because I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna reach out to these people, or I'm gonna give a presentation, or I'm gonna prep that presentation, or I'm just gonna invite. I did that, was it yesterday or the day before, a couple days ago? I forgot how long it takes to invite like people to an event. So, if you think that you have to do all of these things, do you really do any of them well, right? And it does lead to overwhelm, because when you have so many things going on, it's overwhelming in itself. So number 4, focus on one thing, one step, right? When I sat in there and tried to help him conquer this room, it was, okay, buddy, what are you gonna do next? I want you to get all the shoes and put them in your closet, right? And it sounds so simple. You're like, well, why do you keep comparing it to like helping him clean his room? Because how many of us are literally sitting and living in our mess, and we're just totally overwhelmed, broken down, emotionally, like, when someone that does, you're like, okay, well, just pick one thing. Just pick one thing. One social media platform, one person to talk to, one ad to run, whatever it is, pick the one thing and stick to it. Don't quit. Right? I think I did a blog on that if you haven't seen it. Quit quitting, right? So many of us quit. He quit. How many times did he quit? He's like, I'm done. I can't do this. Could he do it? Yes, he could do it. You just have to focus on one thing at a time. So, and sometimes you do just need that person telling you. So tip number 5 that kind of rolls right into it is take daily focused action. It's one thing to admit that you feel overwhelmed in your business or behind, and you recognize that you need to change your thought, and you build up your belief system, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on one thing this year. And you say it, and you make that list, and you make that plan. But then what happens? Do you actually follow through, right? There is no try. There's do or do not. And it really is that simple. Take one action. Right? When people talk about, oh, I want to get healthy this year, and they make these big elaborate plans, most people know what to do to be healthy, but they try to overhaul their whole system going, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week, and I'm going to eat nothing but fruits and vegetables, and I'm going to drink a gallon of water every day. It's like, just tackle one thing. Studies have shown that you're more likely to be successful when you only tackle one thing at a time. Your business is no different. If you are new to network marketing and you're like, well, I do want to build online, don't tackle a whole building out a funnel or a system or a website. You don't need that. There are so many basic skills if you've never been in business for yourself that you would need to understand. So focus on the one thing at a time, and then recognize that we're human. Right? We're going to make mistakes. We're going to, feel overwhelmed. It's not a one-time deal. It's not like, oh, once I gain clarity around this, there's layers to it. And then once you feel like you get that figured out, then you level up, and then you bring a whole new set of things, which is important, right? It's what keeps us moving forward. So I hope you guys found these helpful. I hope that you feel the clarity in your business, the steps in your business. I hope that you have someone to come alongside of you. That's totally my jam. I love supporting you in that. So if you know someone that feels overwhelmed that needs to hear this, feel free to share this video, reach out, say, yes, Em, I am feeling super overwhelmed in my business. I'm lacking clarity. I don't know what the next step is. Let's chat. Let's do that. Otherwise, I will see you guys Tuesday, Thursday. That's my commitment on the Facebook Lives. I'm going to share what I'm learning because it's important. It's important to help each other and come alongside and not just do it all ourselves. All right, you guys, have a great day. Get out there and crush it. You got this. See you soon.